Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Friday, July 6th, 2018. I'm your host, Jared Petty, alongside the Pure One, Mr. Tim Geddes.
Let Tim host. Oh, that feels nice. Normally, it's us doing the cheering for other people.
It's a little strange, yet ironically, once again, Tim not hosting.
It is what it is.
What's going on here? Was this because that dirtbag, that false champion?
The false champion, Nick Scarpino, bailed out on the morning show, so I had to do the morning show, which meant you had to prep the show. It all worked out, though. Yeah, morning show was fun today.
Morning show was delightful. If you haven't watched it yet, friends, you really should. Even if you don't normally watch the Kind of Funny section of Kind of Funny. This is on Kind of Funny Games right now, which you're watching live right now on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames or later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. You could go to youtube.com/kindoffunny and watch the Kind of Funny morning show where you will see Mr. Tim Geddes and the delightful Gia
Harris. We
answering one another's questions. It was kind of delightful.
It was
can you explain that segment? That was pretty great.
You know what? Just go watch it.
Just go watch it. It's adorable. Also, there's a kiss, and I liked it. Anyway, friends, if you're watching here right now, you may know that we are very wont to get things wrong every now and then. What was that?
It was a cough, man.
That was a cough. Yeah. Oh, okay. That was a cough. Never mind.
It sounded like more than that.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure what was happening. I thought it was like, oh no, what's wrong here on the mic? Well, beyond Kevin said, if we get something wrong, you should let us know at kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. You can do that right now as you watch along here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. But enough of that, a little bit of housekeeping. Number one on the housekeeping, I'm hosting, so I get to plug my own stuff. That's right.
You do. It's the rules.
Hey, it's Friday, which means a new episode of Red Dead Radio, the Red Dead Redemption podcast. Guest this week, Naomi Kyle.
Woo!
Topic.
Big gnome skis.
That's right. We got some commentary from Take-Two CEO on whether or not Red Dead Redemption 2 could possibly outsell GTA 5. That's news for the week. Plus the new mailbag. Lots of other fun stuff there. Pop on over at reddeadradio.com or youtube.com/hotblipandajump to see that. I hope that you will.
I want to spoil a little bit. What's the answer?
What's the answer?
Yeah.
The answer is I think in the long run it could match Red Dead Redemption 2's sales.
GTA 5 sales?
Yeah. Like, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 in the long run could match what GTA 5 has made up to this point.
Man.
I think it's going to take a long time.
That's crazy.
Absolutely,
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and we'll get there and explain why there. So pop on over and see that. And also there's a new Hot Blip, well, a relatively new Hot Blip and a Jump Out. If you want to check that out. It's real good, and I hope you'll watch it. Also, today's episode sponsored by Marvel Puzzle Quest, but we'll get to that later. For now, it's time for what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. 6 items on today's Roper Report.
Half a dozen!
That's not how it goes.
I like to change it up sometimes.
Wow.
You let me express myself.
Cool Gray didn't like that one bit.
I mean, I don't know about that. You change the liturgy, man. That's like you go to church.
Dropping the liturgy.
You go to church and instead of
You're
getting like
illiterate.
The bread
I'm tired
and
of
wine,
hearing this shit.
Instead of bread and wine, it's like pork rinds and Mountain Dew.
That's
like,
Kevin.
That actually sounds pretty good. That actually sounds pretty awesome. I want to go to that church. Story number 1 today, friend Tim. No Rocket League sequel. This one comes from Eddie McCook. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Eddie. At GameSpot. Thank you, Eddie.
Wow. Just headline alone.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me. Please continue.
I love this. Rocket League has been one of gaming's biggest success stories for the past few years. Launched in July 2015, the game has 45 million registered players by developer Psyonix's latest count, with between 6 million and 7 million people playing every month. Given the game's huge success, you might be wondering if a sequel is coming. It's not, at least not anytime soon, according to game director Scott Rudy. Rudy, who joined Psyonix earlier this year, told GameSpot in an interview that the studio is focused on treating Rocket League like a platform. The studio is pouring resources into supporting the game with new content instead of making a full-on sequel. That's preferable to do games as a service, Rudy said. The most valuable thing in our game is our fans. A lot of the stuff we do is focused on keeping them with us, keeping them interested and all hyped about our game. We want to provide a really good experience for players to have fun with for years to come. He added, we want to keep this going. I don't know what I'd do with Rocket League 2. I'd rather do more to expand the existing Rocket League. It's doing great, and there's a lot ahead of it. So yeah, I have no plans for Rocket League 2. Rudy's comments match up with Psyonix executive Jeremy Dunham said in March 2017. At that time, he said, why would we want to take this huge community that we've already built that's still growing and say, what you're playing now is going to be irrelevant in 2 months, but we want you to stop what you're doing, giving us money all over again, and move over to this other game. Dunham said his way of thinking on Dunham said that way of thinking on games is coming to an end.
Wow. We were talking yesterday about Bethesda. We're talking about, Pete Hutton's being out there, Todd Howard being out there, being transparent and kind of just calling it like it is and calling other people on their bullshit with their statements of like, this type of gaming is going to die, or this is the only way to succeed in the future or whatever. This really reminds me of that. Dunham, obviously friend of the show, awesome guy. All of this, I love everything that the director Rudy's saying is so great. I think the most key thing here is him saying the most valuable thing in our game is our fans. Mm-hmm. That is such a great mentality to have. When not only when you're making games, but when you have a hit video game that has the potential to be a service that lasts for years, as we've seen. We're coming up on the 3rd birthday, I want to say.
Rocket League's been around
we're
a long
hosting
time.
the birthday party at Petco Park.
I did not know that.
No, yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Greg's doing a whole thing for it. But Rocket League has kind of set the stage for what a smaller title games as service success story can look like, and the way that they really think, what do our fans want, and the type of game modes that they've added, getting it on the Switch, making sure that they're working. They do license deals better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like from WWE to Batman to
Kinda Funny
to Back to the Future to like all of the stuff. They get it, and I love that there is no end in sight and that they see that. And what's great is maybe one day they'll make another game that's a hit in a different way, but they understand that what they have, it doesn't need a sequel, and they can just keep giving people what they want with this, and it's going to continue to sell.
Tim Geddes, how is there not a Kinda Funny themed Ecto 1? Like just an old ambulance with the Kinda Funny logo on the side in Rocket League. How did that not happen?
I don't know. We got to talk to them.
We're not good at talking to people about putting stuff of ours in their games.
You're so good at doing everything here. You guys market yourselves wonderfully. Don't be down on yourself, Kelly.
I'm tired.
Are you doing another weird cough over there, or are you mumbling?
I'm mumbling.
All right, there we go. Why Not Pete has a question about this. He says, happy Friday. Psyonix is, in a GameSpot interview, stated they have no intention of making a sequel, but instead are going to stick with the games as a service model and continually update the current game. Do you think other online games are going to follow suit? Is this the beginning of the end for numbered sequels to live service games like Destiny and The Division? What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
Very interesting. Shout out to Why Not Pete.
Did I staple your stuff out of order?
Yeah, you staple out of order. It's fine.
That's beautiful. Fun to watch Tim try to find the news. What do you think?
I think yes and no.
Okay.
We haven't seen things like this too often, except for what start as smaller titles like Minecraft and Rocket League. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the big guns, the Activision top level stuff, the Ubi top level stuff like Destiny and Division, I don't know that the world is necessarily ready for games as a service platform type experience.
Do you think that comes down to shareholder announcements?
I think it's shareholder stuff, but I also think it's just the way that gamers consume video games and the way that the hype cycle works. Where even for them, like even for the core gamers, if it doesn't have a 2 at the end of it, it doesn't feel like it matters. Right?
I think you have a good point there. Novelty is a powerful marketing weapon. I think that he says a lot of really interesting, or both these gentlemen say a lot of really interesting things here. But there is a tremendous power to something new. The appeal of something new and the intrinsic belief in technology. In an industry where computers get more powerful, phones get more powerful, graphics get better, games get larger, that the next thing is always going to be intrinsically somehow better than what came before. Mm-hmm. That's the power of novelty in marketing, and it's ingrained in our psyches. And I think it would be a mistake to overlook how prominent that is in the way we think about technology right now, and how much we would have to change our collective psychology around everything related to technology, not just video games, to keep that from being valuable. So I think you have a good point there.
For years on Gamescast and different shows that we've done, dating back even to our IGN days, we would always talk about games like Gran Turismo or Madden and be like, why? At what point are they just going to it's Madden, and then there's season updates that you can get, right? It's Gran Turismo, but here's just more tracks and more cars. And I feel like with fighting games, we see that as well with Street Fighter. It's like when Street Fighter, instead of it being here's Street Fighter 4, then Arcade Edition, then Ultra Edition, and then, you know, whatever words they want to put in front of it. And then we got that with Street Fighter 5. And people didn't want that with Street Fighter 5. And it's like, you know, that's one of those examples of, it's a combination of, we're just dudes sitting here talking about what people should do, and we're not necessarily right, but it also adds on to the fact that, you know, that meant that Street Fighter 5 launched incorrectly as like a bare bones product that needed more meat on it to then be added to. And I think that Rocket League is a perfect example of a product that was what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Everything being added is additional. The meat was there. And that's harder to do with a game like Destiny or Division. There's going to be a lot there, but the scale is just so much larger.
Yeah.
And then where do you go from there? With Rocket League, adding in fun little different cars and different modes and tracks and stuff, like a basketball mode instead of soccer. It's like those things are that it's just more core game. Right. And that's what people want from Rocket League expansions. When you get to Division and Destiny, the expansions you're looking for, if it's not a full, here's a new raid, here's a new thing, if it is just, oh, here's some little trinkets, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to cut it. And that's why I think it's going to be a long time until we stop seeing. I don't think the next Destiny is going to be called Destiny. It's going to be Destiny 3.
Ah, you think that's what it's going to be? Okay, so it's not going to be a games as a service platform that lasts for 10 years. It's going to be a sequel, and we're going to expect another sequel to that. One final thing, I don't think we hear enough about this in video game marketing, because I think sometimes marketers almost forget it. It's not just fun to play new things, it's fun to buy things.
People like it.
We don't like spending money, but we like buying things.
We like having that new.
Yeah, having that new thing. We bring it home from the store, we download it, we watch the little bar go across, we sit there anxiously. And Rocket League taps into that in one sense, because there's always something new to buy, something fun to buy. Don't need it, but I want it. New games give you that same feeling too. I think it's a lot of it has to do with how you leverage that. Let's move on to story number 2 on the Roper Report. Dead Island 2 is still happening. Ha! This from Big Twinfinite.
Big Twinfinite.
Yeah, that's right. I'm on. It's going to be a Twinfinite story. Wesley LeBlanc at Big Twinfinite. Yesterday, the Dead Island Twitter account tweeted a promotional tweet about their new mobile game, Dead Island Survive. You can likely guess what kind of game this is. One Twitter user, though, was not happy about this mobile game. Don't care, not Dead Island 2. Quit bouncing around the subject and tell us what's going on, the tweet said. The longer the wait, the more pissed off fans get, especially with the same copy and paste answer. Surprisingly, the Dead Island Twitter responded with a confirmation that Dead Island 2 is in development and will one day come. What's going on is it's in development and we won't be showing more until we're ready, the tweet read. Appreciate the wait is painful, but Dead Island 2 is still coming. 2 years ago, in 2016, the Dead Island 2 Steam page was pulled, seemingly revealing that Dead Island 2 was no more. That, coupled with lack of information, we went virtually 2 years without a peep about this game, had fans of the series and that trailer, It's Seriously So Good, worried that the franchise was no more. Well, how about that?
Couple things. First off, I don't believe for a second this game is real or coming. Yeah. It might be. They're working on it. It's not going to come out. And if it does, it's going to be at least 2 more years until we see it. So whatever. Second off, good on them for their transparency. Them responding to this type of tweet is super important. And I feel like them having the message they do, which is, hey, here's where we're at. Here is the update. That's really big of them and awesome. The flip side of that, though, is like it's really bad that they waited to have this response after they announced a mobile game that people don't want. That even though we understand that how business works, it's not like, well, this happened, which means this is delayed. It's not like Dead Island 2 is being held back because this mobile game was being made.
Yeah.
However, it does seem that way. There is a perception issue where when people are waiting to even hear what's going on with this game that was announced years ago, and then we get a new installment in the franchise that's a spin-off that, quite frankly, no one is asking for.
Dead Island 2, Duke Nukem 5.
Pretty much.
I think that's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, in development can mean a lot of things. It can mean that somebody has a spreadsheet where they're typing ideas down on it. It could mean that we're going to have a meeting in 6 months about this, but it's still, that meeting's still on the books, or it can mean the thing's almost done. You never know.
Yeah.
Like you, I expect the news to come later rather than sooner. However, very interesting to discover that it's still. And I honestly, after the Steam thing went down, I thought
We thought it was done.
yeah. So this third one here, we're going to ask Joey Noel to come in on the shock mic and give some input. This is a long story, so give me a minute to get through all this. I'm going to start with the original story. There's also an update. This is from PC Gamer by Austin Wood. Guild Wars 2 developer ArenaNet recently parted ways with writers Jessica Price and Peter Fries, who were involved in a contentious Twitter discussion with Guild Wars 2's Twitch streamer and YouTuber Duror, who was also partnered with ArenaNet through its content creator program. On Tuesday, July 3rd, Price wrote a lengthy Twitter thread about writing for MMOs, particularly Guild Wars 2, and why player characters are uniquely difficult to write compared to protagonists in single-player games. To put it simply, she discussed how to give the character's personality in a way that also leaves room for players to create their own character. In a reply to Price's thread, Duror argued that branching dialogue options could give players more ways to define their character's personality, overcome the MMO-specific constraints that Price discussed, and improve the role-playing potential of Guild Wars 2. Yesterday, Price highlighted Duror's reply in a series of tweets, suggesting he was uninformed and that his reply was condescending. Among those tweets, the one that's drawn the most ire, particularly on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit, is Price's remark about, quote, rando asshats, end quote, talking down to experienced writers and developers. Apologies. For his part, Duror said he, quote, meant no disrespect, end quote, and simply wanted to create, quote, dialogue and discussion, end quote, with Price. He also apologized for any offense his argument may have caused. In a post to the Guild Wars 2 forums and a thread explicitly about Price and Free's tweets, ArenaNet president Mike O'Brien characterized the statements as, quote, attacks on the community, saying 2 of our employees failed to uphold our standards of communicating with players, and that those employees are, quote, no longer with the company. O'Brien also said the statements they made do not reflect the views of ArenaNet at all. It's no grand secret that game developers, especially women, are regularly targeted by fans who want to lash out, condescend, or place blame, to say nothing of the insults, threats, and other toxicity routinely hurled their way. That being said, this incident was not on the level of the harassment maelstroms we've seen in the past. A developer explained their writing philosophy. A partner content creator offered feedback, and that developer responded somewhat rudely. Ordinarily, that would be the end of it, perhaps followed by a round of apologies or someone is stepping away from the role temporarily. But in this case, ArenaNet felt the need to immediately fire the employees involved. Again, that commentary at the end by Austin Wood from PC Gamer. Finally, an update. ArenaNet detailed its stance in a statement to Eurogamer and says, quote, we strive to cultivate an atmosphere of transparency and run the making of our games and encourage our teams to be involved in open, positive discussion with our community. Earlier this week, 2 of our employees failed to uphold our standards of communication with our players and fans, and they are no longer with the company. That was a long read, I realize, but I feel like in an issue like this, it's very important that we lay out as much context as we can. We received a number of messages about this and folks asking us what our thoughts were on it and how to cover it. We talked some this morning before coming in here, and I want to start with this. I will never know exactly what it's like to be a female video game developer and put up with the crap that they routinely do just for having to be just for being a female video game developer. I have worked with people in media who are female who put up with things like, say rape threats for reviews that people don't like. That's not happened to me. I don't have that experience. So to a degree, I think I want to be very thoughtful about what I say here and not try to assume that I have some sublime understanding. So Tim and I are here along with Joey, and we're going to talk for a second. Joey, I've got a few questions for you on this because you've worked on the development end a little bit, right?
This is my own, kind of funny, is my only games industry gig. So I feel like I've been very lucky because I feel like I don't have to deal with nearly as much stuff as a lot of other women in the gaming industry do.
Okay.
But it's an interesting story for me on a couple different levels just because I think what the guy said to the developer was like a little, it got a little mansplaining as I read through the thread. And then I think I don't think what he said was super bad, and I don't think what she said, ooh, that was a catch.
Oh, the shock mic fell on you.
Yeah, the shock mic fell. I also don't feel like what she said was necessarily worth her getting fired for. I think it was definitely worth having conversation about customer service and interacting with the community and stuff like that. But that seemed like an extreme reaction for me. But I also understand coming from her point of view, like, if you continually get tweets from people that are telling you in some form or another, like, how to do your job better, or trying to explain to you a part of your job that you probably already know, even if you haven't like explicitly said that, I can see how that can get really, really old. And your initial response to things is to be either short or snarky back, because if that's the majority of your experience, you're going to expect that that's the intent that a lot of people are coming at you with. So I think that mindset is kind of a little bit hard to break out of. And it's hard to deal with that on a regular basis.
What about the implications this has for the industry? The fact that she was fired, that both these folks were fired in response to this critique and community upheaval. What do you think this spells for other developers in the future that choose to engage with communities?
Yeah, I think it's interesting just because, too, what this does with gamers in general, if they think that their opinion and their communications with devs, if they think that they now have the power to get people fired, that makes me a little bit nervous, especially for devs. I could totally see a lot of devs pulling back from interacting with communities at all, which is what we see for most gamers, is they like hearing feedback and updates and stuff like that. And having that open line of communication. And I think instances like that are going to make people be like, I'm not going to talk about stuff at all because I don't want this. I don't want to lose my job or whatever, even if it's, I think, in a fairly mild, as in like a not fireable offense.
And that's a very interesting point, because I don't think Dror, from what I've seen of this, was trying through his exchange to get her fired, but then the community outrage around it resonated with the company, and suddenly, wow, 2 people are out of a job. And that's a very serious thing to lose your livelihood.
That's where it gets really scary, is when it's the mob mentality of everybody kind of ganging up on the man, whatever the man is in that instance. This to me is interesting. It all comes back to the idea of free speech and people being allowed to say what they want, but it's like that is not a right you have necessarily when you were working within a company. And it's like when there's policies that in place, like it sounds like at ArenaNet, like they said that this was not in line with how we you've accepted that you're going to talk to the community and all of that. And with great power comes great responsibility. And that's where it gets really, really scary. I'm with Joey, where I agree that reading through this, everything that you just said, it sounds like it's not like her saying that, oh, you're talking down to me and being condescending. It's like, that doesn't seem that bad. However, if ArenaNet feels like it is, and like that they feel like that's not part of what they want to put forward of how their employees are talking to the community, that's on them. And that is a conversation that we don't know how the conversation went. Right. I just feel like it gets so complicated, because the moment that it's a blessing and a curse that we can be so open and upfront with conversations with people. And we face this stuff all the time. You know, like there's best friends out there, and like, there's a lot of people that don't like that we say that, because they're like, oh, best friends, like if they don't agree on something, they can still get along. It's like, well, best friends, when they don't agree, they fight and don't like each other. Like, like being a best friend doesn't mean that you necessarily are going to be able to have civil debates about things.
No,
like,
I've had some of the most heated conversations of my entire life with my best friends.
Exactly. And it's like, and best friends also have the choice to shut down and not talk to people when they're like, you know what, I'm done with this conversation. They're allowed to do that, and they do that often. And yes, it's frustrating, right? But communication is hard between anybody within any type of relationship, and there is a relationship between communities and developers and their bosses, and you need to be able to understand that everything that you put out there can be taken differently than you meant it, and you need to be prepared to deal with the consequences of that. And that's not always going to be good. But the problem with this type of situation is the ArenaNet is put in a situation now where they need to deal with thousands of angry people. I don't know the number, right? Let's just say thousands of angry people that are all creating this PR nightmare because of a situation that 2 of their employees said. And it's really kind of on them to decide, based on a conversation with them, I would hope, what's the right call here to side with the community or to double down and side with our people. And they know those people better than we do.
And adding further complexity to that is the fact that this fellow she's having the discussion with is a partner. I mean, this is somebody they work with. So there's that factor too.
Which is, I guess, an interesting thing too, because I feel like when you escalate the relationship from community member to kind of somewhere in between where you're partnered in some way, that person, at least in my experience, has a little bit more open access to the people that they're talking to. If they're a partnered YouTuber, streamer, whatever with this company, they probably have a contact or whatever. So they have like a liaison that they can talk to about all of this. That, I mean, I guess that's more, I'm coming more from like a community perspective of, hey, if you have like a big issue or feedback to give it to the right person and don't necessarily
sometimes
put it out into the
pipelines
ether.
exist. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another end of it as well. I think we've talked through that to a good degree, and best friends are going to have their own thoughts on this as well. But I wanted to cover this because I do think stories like this in the end, people lost their jobs. In the end, something pretty seismic shifted there, and I think it was worth talking about. Let's move on to story number 4 here. This one from IGN, Brian Barnett, Castlevania 2.
Season 2.
Yeah. I was hoping for Castlevania 2.
Oh, I'm
That's what I
happy
wanted.
with this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm way more
Castlevania
happy
Season
for
2.
this.
We're going to have a good talk here.
Yes.
Castlevania Season 2 coming soon. The Castlevania animated series is returning to Netflix this October. Castlevania's second season launches October 26, spanning 8 episodes. The announcement was made at Anime Expo during the Netflix Anime panel. Short
Just
story.
in time for Halloween. Oh my God. I'm so excited. Season 1 was 4 episodes. It's
Absurdly small.
absurdly small. 4 20-minute episodes. It stopped right when it was getting really good. Did you watch it?
I did.
Oh, I loved it. I love the style. Adi Shankar can do no wrong, in my opinion. Even some of the stuff that he works on that isn't perfect, it's like there's just so much genuine love that he puts into the projects that he works on, and he gets it. He's one of us. He's a very weird version of one of us, but that's when art gets made. And man, I believe in what he's doing. I believe in the Castlevania project. The team that they have working on the animation is one of the best in the world, and they just get it. They get what they're doing, and they nailed what I like about Castlevania while kind of staying away from a lot of the other bullshit. And man, 8 more episodes of this, I feel like that's a good amount. Like, I don't need this to be a 38 episode season. 8 more episodes, that's going to be probably like 3 hours total of content. I'm sold, man. I'm ready.
We are going to have such a nice talk here, Tim, because I love Castlevania more than just about anything. In the whole wide world, I love it. It is just about my favorite thing. It is a video game series about fighting Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy and everything I've ever wanted in life. And there are fishmen leaping out of the water and big old bats and a dude with a whip. And it's great. Symphony of the Night, one of the best video games ever made by human beings. And I hated that series.
Really?
I did. I loathed it.
Why?
Now, the animation is gorgeous. First off, that no one can contest that. It is beautiful. As a matter of fact, it's so beautiful, I eventually just turned the sound off and kept watching, because that was my problem with it. The first 5 minutes, I was intrigued. The idea of a Dracula who's having a sort of a vengeful, repentant conflict within himself for developing a human relationship, and then that being betrayed by human anger. I loved that. And about 5 minutes in, it turned into epic level bad video game writing.
Oh my
And
God.
I hated the characters. I hated the dialogue writing. I hated the storyline. I hated the hamminess. It was like
That's what
it was
it-
like
it is,
somebody
though.
injected David Cage with like a barrel of
Oh my
vitamin
God.
B12 and shot it into his brain.
See, I disagree. I see it more as it went more Devil May Cry than what then it took the Devil May Cry-esque aspects of Castlevania and they made that, and that's what I like about
Okay,
it.
that's
I
why
like
you
the
liked
kind
it.
of like generic ass stuff, but like he's a fucking badass, and it's like let's put him in situations where he can be a badass.
I liked that. My problem was the situations where he could be a badass. So it was all just like, we're guys in a bar and there's a stranger over there. We're going to talk about, first off, let's say some words that make you understand. Oh, wait, we got accents. So we're evil. now we're going to talk about this. Oh, those comely wenches over there. Look at that.
Fucking love it.
Oh, I hated it.
The final
It was
fight scene was so great. Earned. Totally fucking earned.
Oh, it was
I love that
terrible.
shit. The biggest problem that the series has is the music.
fair.
Why they didn't use Castlevania music, I will never understand.
Yeah, I don't know if somebody just owns the rights. And
It's weird because it would have worked so much better. And I've seen fan edits of people taking like Bloody Tears and all the classic Castlevania songs and putting it over the footage. I'm like, this is so much better. Not that the music was bad, but like Castlevania music is like one of the most important things about that franchise.
Yes, Castlevania music. An hour of Castlevania music is the best hour of your life. You just grab an old style like Castlevania soundtrack CD and drop it into something, and you're good for an hour.
That's great.
That's all. You don't need any other activities. You need nothing to look at. The music will create images in front of your mind and conjure up castles and wasted landscapes and rising moons and werewolves and all kinds of great stuff you need. It's bodacious. This series sucked, but I'm glad we're getting another one anyway.
I'm so excited for it. I want more.
Yeah. You know what? I can always hope it'll be good, right?
Yeah, that's all you got.
Story number 5. Witcher tabletop RPG coming. This one also from Big Twinfinite, Wesley LeBlanc. 3 years ago, the Witcher tabletop RPG was announced, and in just a few weeks, it will be available for purchase. Sadly, though, it won't be available for everyone. In fact, it'll only be available for purchase for those attending Gen Con in August. At booth number 1752 at the back of the exhibit hall, our Talsaran Games will have a booth set up where from August 2nd to August 5th, attendees can purchase the tabletop game. If you're not, though, everyone will have a chance to get their hands on the game shortly after Gen Con. First off, normally I go straight to the guest here, but shout out to Gen Con,
Jared shit.
Indianapolis, Indiana. Awesome convention. Always awesome. Bodacious. Sprawling, huge, everywhere you turn, people playing games. Just imagine you, even in the hallways, when you're just walking down the hall, people are like in corners, just playing games, board games, role-playing games, card games, all around you. You can't go anywhere and not see people playing games for like 3 days. It's beautiful. It's a great, have you ever been?
No.
Okay, it's glorious. You got to go sometime, team. Even if you're not into tabletop games, going to Gen Con will make you into tabletop games because the excitement, it's very much like the best of the video game community.
Yeah.
It's just infectious.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
What about a Witcher tabletop RPG?
Not for me.
Not your thing? No.
Those are 3 things that I'm like about. I like RPGs. Tabletop, not so much. Witcher, not so much.
All right.
Should give a shot. It's just not for me.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, it is for me. So, hey, if you're going to Gen Con and you want to pick me up a copy, let me know because that's exciting. I have some friends there in Indiana may go for me, but let me know if you would. But I think that's cool news. And finally, perhaps a little closer to Tim Geddes' heart.
Definitely.
Last story on the Roper Report today. All 151 Generation 1 Pokemon are getting new official plushes. That's right. Fans of Pokemon's Kanto region will now have over 100 new reasons to celebrate, as the Pokemon Company has announced that all 151 original Pokemon are each getting their own official plush toy. This story, by the way, from Joseph Knopp at IGN. The Pokemon Fit lineup will offer 30 select Pokemon to begin with, starting July 13th, and the remaining 121 will be available on November 2018. Each plush will be available through the Pokemon Center stores in Japan.
At least 150 with more to see to be a Pokemon master. It's my destiny. I love this shit. I got to see a picture today of all of them. They're tiny. They're like more handheld because Pokemon Center, they've been doing these plushies for a while, and a lot of them are kind of bigger. There's like life-size Bulbasaurs, which are dope as fuck, even though fuck Bulbasaur, but if you're going to do it, make sure it's life-size. But no, this is great. I love the Gen 1 pandering. Like a lot of people are kind of like, we're so sick of this.
Okay.
I'm not. I never will be. The original 151, they're iconic, and whether or not they're the best designs, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows them, and I love that we're going back with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I love that they're doing this. I love that Pokemon Go is all about them, and the Alolan forms and all that. I will never get tired of the first 151 Pokemon.
So, Tim Geddes, I have to ask you, 151 Pokemon plushes, all small enough that together they could probably fit into an apartment.
Yeah.
Figure they're going to price them, probably about $20? That's my guess.
Probably,
All right,
yeah.
about $20. So that's about $3,000.
Yeah.
Right there. Kind of funny going to go to Japan and purchase from the Pokemon store all 151 Pokemon plushies?
Long ago, I had to make a conscious choice to decide, because I like collecting things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm going to collect things, I need to be all in or not at all. So when it comes to the Funko Pops, even though I fucking hate Funko Pops, that's not even a good example. But when it comes to Amiibo, when it comes to like these type of things, I need to just not do it. I need to step away because the moment I start investing, it's going to get real, real bad.
All right, so you're not doing it.
Not doing
Not
it.
happening. Not even a stretch goal, huh?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Tim, that story's about plushies, but this is a show about games. Indeed, it's called Kinda Funny Games Daily. If I wanted to know what games I could play today, what new games are available across platforms, where would I turn?
The official list of upcoming software across each and every platform is listed by the Kinda Funny Games Daily Show host each and every weekday.
There we go. I love that. It makes me feel so good. Short list today. Out today. As Divine Hearts for Xbox One, not to be confused with As Divine Hearts. Nope. As Divine Hearts for Xbox One, Detached for PSVR and PC, The Wardrobe for Switch, and Wheel Spin Frenzy for Xbox One. A short list today, my friend. A short list. Do you have the right page there now?
I do.
Sorry, I stapled those out of
It's
order.
all good.
Sowing the Kernels of Chaos. Trying to confuse this gentleman. New dates. We got a couple here. On November 29th, 2018, you can play a remake of Asterix and Obelix XXL 2.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, this is some Jared shit.
Okay, that's a weird... That is a PS2 era Asterix game. If you're not familiar with Asterix, you probably don't live in Europe. But Asterix is this little Viking guy, and he goes around and does Viking stuff, and he's got a friend, and they have Viking adventures. Some people are very happy about this. I've never played it.
I haven't either. I had the soundtrack for some reason,
But
like
so,
on CD.
but so, really, for this game?
For not this game, but an Asterix and Obelix soundtrack that, I don't know, at some point, I think someone when I was younger gave it to me and was just like, oh, I have this video game CD. And I was like, oh.
We actually got a letter about this today. We'll get to it here in a minute.
okay.
Somebody's very excited about it. But not only can you replay that PlayStation 2 era Asterix and Obelix game in a glorious remaster later this year, but you can also look forward to 2019's Asterix and Obelix XXL 3. A new Asterix and Obelix game announced today.
Okay.
So there we go.
And more than that, Kill the Game If trailer 2019 PS4 and PC. I'm way more excited about that.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Kill's fantastic.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're a
man.
Kill. Are you a Trigger guy?
Kill Kill's, the thing is, I watched the first 3 episodes of it like 4 times with Nick, and he will not commit to continuing to watch it because it's just one of those things we just ran out of time. I love the first 3 episodes. I am so in.
Yeah.
It is so obnoxious and over the top and overly sexualized and all the things that I'm like, this shit together. And I'm like, Tim Geddes is in.
Viewed as parody, it's brilliant. I think that's what they're going for. I think it's like the. I hope that's what they're going for. Otherwise, it's the worst thing that ever happened.
Everyone working on it, I'd imagine that 70% of them, it's parody, and 30% of them are just sick fucks.
Okay, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
actually.
it is.
That suddenly makes it much. I've always looked at it under the assumption that it's an extraordinary work of parody. That it's taking the shonen genre, turning it up to 11, and it making fun of some,
Anime.
Yeah, some
Tropes.
But anyway, Kill la Kill coming as a 3D fighting game. That's what it's going to be, kind of a Virtua Fighter style 3D fighting game from what I've seen of it. So yeah, interesting there. Now it's time for Reader Mail, brought to us today by Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Let me tell you about Marvel Puzzle Quest. Greg Miller loves the game. He's in Montreal right now. He's flying. Guess what? He's going to be playing Marvel Puzzle Quest. He wants that Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's in theaters now. We already know that. Our review is up right now on youtube.com/kindafunny. You can check it out. Where does it rank? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Marvel Puzzle Quest is Marvel's only match 3 puzzle RPG mobile game experience, and you can download it today for how much money, Jared?
How much money there? What? For 0 money.
0 money. It's for free. In Marvel Puzzle Quest, you can create a custom team from the Marvel Universe that features such characters like Iron Man, Black Panther, Deadpool, Rogue, Gambit, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and more. There are more than 150 superheroes and villains packed into this game. And yeah, this is the real Puzzle Quest. It's not some weird knockoff thing. It is actually the classic Puzzle Quest that you know and remember. Right now, Marvel Puzzle Quest has a ton of in-game content for Ant-Man and the Wasp, as they're featured in the Growth Industry event going on right now. And they have Ghosts coming into the game really soon, along with a number of new supports like the Quantum Realm or Wasp Gauntlets to equip to your new characters. I can tell you that right now, Jared, the Wasp Gauntlets in the movie, really cool.
Did you like the movie?
Loved the movie.
You love the movie.
Loved the
Okay,
movie.
I haven't gotten to watch. I haven't gotten to watch the review yet.
You should.
So,
It's
all right.
fantastic.
Well, I don't usually watch because y'all were so wrong about the list and the order.
You're insane. And we have a special offer for new players. Download Marvel Puzzle Quest using the link in the description or head over to d3go.com/kindafunnygames for the and to get yourself 3 free tokens from the Partners in Crime Vault and to possibly earn Ant-Man, Wasp, or other great rewards to add to your collections. That's d3go.com/kindafunnygames. Download it for free. Marvel Puzzle Quest, a better way to puzzle.
$0. Exciting. Let's look at the reader mail. Greetings, readers. First off, this concise message from DJ Brad Chill. I only have one burning question for Tim. What the literal fuck is a smart toilet?
So I don't actually have a smart toilet.
Yeah, we were lying.
I would get one, and I want to get one. But what Kevin was referring to is that I have a LED light in my toilet that when you get near it, it glows blue.
Okay.
And it started as a fashion over function thing, where it's like, it just looks cool, but it's quickly turned into a function over fashion. Well, function and fashion. It looks cool, and it is the best nightlight to get to the toilet of all time.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
it guides you in the darkness?
It's perfect. I love it.
Do you flip
What
on?
I don't love is when it runs out of battery, because when it starts to run out of battery, it automatically goes red, and there is nothing more terrifying than 3 a.m. going into the bathroom, like standing up from the bed, and it's sensing the motion, and the whole bathroom just glowing red, emanating from the toilet.
You're like, am I in Silent Hill?
It's very
Where's
bad.
Pyramid Head? Don't hurt me.
I would like to add that a smart toilet is, I believe they're very popular in Japan, where it is a bidet, and it's very technological advanced. You can set it to like heat up when you sit down.
I've experienced this in
yep.
in Tokyo Town or whatever it's called in LA. It doesn't have a weird name.
Got it, yeah.
It's not Japantown. It has like some weird Little
Sure.
Tokyo. Is that what it is?
I think it's Little
Tokyo. Yeah, not Tokyo Town. Japantown, Little Tokyo.
Little massager options.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now,
yeah.
now I
Temperature
have.
settings on the bidet water.
I don't know if y'all have heard this, but I kind of like to talk about Japan.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I did get to experience some pretty spectacular toilet seats during my long time there. And you know what? That butt warming thing, that's real nice.
Yeah.
It's doubly nice because Japanese buildings are not particularly well insulated generally. And so in the winter, it's real cold. And suddenly you're like, oh, it's so toasty.
Gotta love
I
it.
just feel real happy.
gotta
Also, I had a toilet thank me for using it once in Japan. That was very strange. I did not expect that to happen.
Did you enjoy that though?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a beautiful novelty. Jacob asks, hey, kind of funny crew. When talking about Cyberpunk, Jared often says that, of course it's going to be good. It's a CD Projekt Red RPG. And I ask myself, why does that mean it's going to be good? The Witcher 3 was the first time they had real mainstream and critical success. And The Witcher 2 sports a solid 88 on Metacritic. We aren't talking about a BioWare, Naughty Dog, or Retro length of success. Even The Witcher 3 people, myself included, had trouble with the accessibility of its control scheme. I know the demo for Cyberpunk killed, but that game is a console generation away probably. I guess the TLDR is, why is Jared and so many others so certain Cyberpunk will be great from a studio with such a small resume of success? Thanks for all you do.
You got to start somewhere, and it's right when you get that real giant hit success that people start thinking of you that way. Look at Naughty Dog, right? Uncharted 1, like, yeah, okay, Crash and Jack and Daxter, like, obviously they're great games, but they're not like, oh my God, Naughty Gods, right? Uncharted 1, it scored similarly, if not, maybe not even as good as an 88 when it first came out. But then Uncharted 2 was like, oh shit, these guys know what the fuck they're doing. And I feel like Witcher 3 is that for CD Projekt Red, where people really did like Witcher 2 and the people that enjoyed it swore by it. But it took Witcher 3 for all those people to finally be able to say, see, I fucking told you so. And for the mainstream to latch on to be like, wow, there's something really special here. And CD Projekt Red, I think that it's not just the fact that Witcher 3 was so good, but that they committed to the ongoing DLC plans and that those were so good and free.
Iron and Wine. I mean, just, yeah, I think that these are all good points, Tim. To piggyback on your Naughty Dog analogy, I honestly think The Witcher 1 is their Uncharted 1. I think that game was actually much better than it had any business being. and really surprised people with some innovative ideas. It was rough around the edges in a lot of ways, but it really did have. It was a coming out party for them. People,
But when they
stood
got
up
out
and
of
took
water,
notice.
were their pants wet?
No, I don't think so. I don't think those pants
So
were
it's
wet.
not Uncharted 1.
Okay, so
Just saying.
probably not that. But it's a very interesting game, very different kind of game from Uncharted 1, but a game people stood up and took notice at, like, this game turned out really well. Witcher 2 is an act of sublime genius. That game's amazing. 88, first off, most people would kill for an 88 on Metacritic. That is bonus level internal development score. I mean, that's fantastic. 88 spectacular on Metacritic. But beyond that, what Metacritic is, Witcher 2 is underrated at that score. I played more Witcher 2, I think, than most people did because I wrote a guide for it. And Witcher 2 has more brave, innovative storytelling beats than practically any action RPG I've ever played. It does so much that's spectacular and fascinating. First off, it has the courage to hide about 40% of the game behind 2 playthroughs. I mean, you can play the Witcher 1 or Witcher 2 all the way through and miss over a third of the game. No problem. Because there's a split that comes where you fight on one side of a war, and the next time you play through, if you make a different decision there, you fight on the other side of the same war. And the people that were your enemies in the last game that you're literally like killing, they're your allies now. And you're sympathizing with them. And the people you fought with, the people that you were friends before, now they're your enemies. And the game is completely turned around. There's a completely different mission structure and objectives. And it's not just like recycled assets. It's brilliant. Second, that game's final boss fight is my favorite Final Boss fight. You know, I did Bando Namkai yesterday.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with my brain.
Final boss fights, dude.
I'm really
I know
tired.
what you're talking about.
I need a nap.
It's the freaking weekend, baby.
That's
We're
what
about to
it
have
is.
some
Yeah, we
fun.
got to get that. So, whatever the case may be, friends, Witcher 2, spectacular. Witcher 3, spectacular. They've now created 3 good and 2 standout, superb, groundbreaking RPGs in a row. That's why. Not many companies do that many in a row without a misstep. Tim, any other thoughts?
I mean, and just to add on to what I was saying, I feel like to me that the cyberpunk aesthetic is so much more interesting to a wide audience. I know people love fantasy, but cyberpunk is just it's cool. You know, people love that 80s neon aesthetic. And like this game has people like me and Nick interested. So I feel like there's, in addition to hearing all these amazing things that the Witcher series has done, adding that into a game that is a bit more up our alley visual with its visuals. There's a lot of good going into this, a lot of good faith. And the demo looks fucking rad.
Yeah, the demo is just extraordinarily rad. Zaire says, hey, Tim and Jared, after hearing the news that Asterix and Obelix Double XL2 is getting remastered for current consoles and a third coming next year, I couldn't be any more excited. When I played the game back on the PS2, I enjoyed it, but I felt like I was the only one who ever played it or ever heard about it. My question is, had you ever played a game that absolutely no one ever heard of? And also, what's the weirdest and most obscure that you like that no one will ever play? Tim, what's a game?
Have you ever, Jared? I don't think you can answer. No, I'm just
No,
fucking
well,
around.
actually, I think, to be honest, I'm not going to answer this question today because every day is the answer to
Every
that
day,
question.
yes,
But I
every-
do want to hear one from you.
So here's the thing. I'm sitting at a table with the one man in the world. that No matter what game I said, you would know.
Not
in
necessarily.
Some, in
No,
some
people
way.
give me too much credit for that. I have not played everything.
Would you would at
Name
least-
the most random game you
would
can
at
right
least-
now.
You would at least know. But so here's the thing. To give you a real answer of a game that I played that like I played the hell out of.
Yeah.
To the point that like, you know, when the emulators were like all the rage and when
Yeah.
the PSP you can have everything. It's like the NES games that I wanted to get. Mario 1 through 3, Zelda 1 and 2, Metroid, like Paperboy, like all the ones that everybody knows, right?
I love that Paperboy got there with next to Mario
Dude,
and Zelda.
here's the thing,
for
though.
you.
Paperboy is iconic. Paperboy,
It
I
is.
would argue, is one of the you did not own a NES and not have Paperboy.
Yeah, it was ported
Right.
to everything.
It
was
was
ported
just
to everything.
people fucking had that game, played that game at the very least.
That arcade cabinet with the handlebars.
Let's go,
it was
dude.
so
Let's
good.
go. And I just fucking love Paperboy. What I love about Paperboy is I feel like it was the first game that. This sounds so weird, but there was enough environmental storytelling going on like with the different days changing and like the different kids coming through and whatever. Like I remember me and Kevin would play and like come up with storylines around what was going on. And like when we would get to the little end area at the level that's like with all the ramps and bonus stuff, it's like, I don't know, like we had a lot of imagination going into this fucking game that is like really just okay.
Okay,
but that's
friends,
not my answer, obviously.
You heard it here first. Patreon exclusive, Kevin and Tim's Paperboy fanfic
Oh my God.
coming for you. Please continue.
I love Paperboy so much that I rented Paperboy 64 because I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. And God, that was horrible. But no. So the answer to my question is when I download these games and like when I want to play like my treasured NES games, it was all of those that everybody knows. And then there's one called Captain Skyhawk.
Ah,
Are you familiar with
I am
Captain
familiar with
Of course
Captain
you are.
Skyhawk.
It's a vertical shmup.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through and then every other level turns to like a first person kind of like shooter game.
Did you own or rent it?
I owned the hell
Okay.
out of it. Yeah. And I played the shit out of it. And I thought it was just such a good game. There's boss fights at the end of every level. And then there's the one thing that I didn't like is there was loading dock levels that were like pseudo 3D and like there'd be like this spinning thing and you need to line up your ship with this turning hole.
Like landing on
And-
the aircraft carrier in Top Gun.
Top Gun. It's kind of like that. But anyway, yeah, Captain Skyhawk would be my game.
I love that. This Captain Skyhawk was a renter for me, but I think it's rad that. Do you own it now?
I do. It is one of the few games that I haven't sold because it's like it is one of my games.
That's really
and then,
cool.
then another one that like it's not that no one played it. And as I get older, I realize everyone did. But a game that I loved way more than I ever should have is the Super Nintendo classic Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Bust Loose.
Oh, that is a good game.
It's a really good game.
Yeah.
That train level, are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
There's a train level where you need to be dashing the entire time. When I was young, I thought it was impossible to beat. Like I thought that like that was the end of the game and there was no credits.
couldn't
It was
do it.
just you just die and it's a really sad ending to a Tiny Toons game. But I
That
put
would've
that
been
up
better.
there. I put that up there with Battletoads, Hovercraft, and with the Ninja Turtles dam level and things like that. Where I'm just like, why is this so fucking hard?
Yeah, that the Ninja Turtles dam level is. I do think that that's going to become part of our cultural consciousness as a world someday.
Yeah.
Like we're going to
into
remember
that.
that. Yeah, it's like that was one of the great mistakes of the 20th century. It's time to squad up, friends. From Mikey B on the PS4. His name is Bot Sauce with 2 T's. That's BOTTSAUCE. Bot Sauce says, I'm looking for a squad of like-minded gamers and friends to help me get my bearings in Rainbow Six Siege. I just downloaded the complete edition of the game last night thanks to the mid-year sale. Fair warning, I'm a noob at this game. I don't have too many friends I could team up with, and random battles end in me dying immediately or getting kicked. Thanks, guys. Keep fucking that chicken.
Keep fucking that goddamn chicken.
Every time I read one of these, I'm just like, man, I'm really glad you guys chose that as your
It's
motto.
the thing.
That's
We
just-
didn't choose it. It chose us.
Our jobs are stupid. Anyway, Bot Sauce. Yeah, I picked you out here because, hey, I sympathize with people looking to start playing games that communities are entrenched in. So, best friends, go get Bot Sauce some help. Teach him to play. Help make him better at this game. You'll feel good for it. One of those rotating segments, DH Canada, pointed out yesterday that we might want to add a new one. We have not forgotten DH Canada, but we're going to pick a name for that and think it out before we actually commit to that. And now it's time for You're Wrong, the section of the show where you tell us everything that's terrible about ourselves.
Kebab says today is the 3rd birthday for Rocket League. There's a bunch of stats that they posted.
Oh, he got you.
Well, we're celebrating at Petco Park during Comic-Con.
No, he got you.
Rocket League's lifetime stats include 46 million players online, 2.5 billion matches played, 1.4 million average daily players, 13.1 billion goals scored, 39% of players are on PS4, 35% on Xbox One, 21% on Steam, and 5% on Switch. There are 800,000 Rocket League content creators and 9,651 years of Rocket League watched on Twitch.
There are a lot of people playing Rocket League on Xbox proportionally. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like you look at the number of consoles out there versus the size of the community. That's fascinating.
Xbox.
What else we got here, Tim? Checking out that you're wrong. Looking at the spreadsheet. When he reads it, it's exciting. When he's looking for it, it's not quite as
Lord
exciting.
Apone says the plushies of the 151 Pokemon are listed at about $10.75 each. So a full collection would be $1,600
Well, there you go. $1,600
for 151.
plush Pokemon. Plus, you get a
mean-
trip to Japan, a tax expensible trip to Japan.
I'm into it, man.
Out of it, if you buy it
I
for
kind of
kinda
just
funny.
want to not tell Gia and just do it.
Yeah.
And just fill the room.
Just buy, even if you can't take them home, buy them for the company. Just put them back here. Put them behind
Nick,
here.
Nick would love that.
Yeah, I think I'd be really happy about it.
Lord Apone says Uncharted 1 has an 88 on Metacritic. Interesting.
An 88?
And then Ignacio
too
Rojas
high.
says Witcher 3's DLC is called Blood and Wine, not Iron and Wine.
Oh, did I say Iron and Wine? Yeah, Iron and Wine's a band.
And Lord
That's
Apone
right.
says The Witcher 1 has an 81 and 86 on Metacritic, depending on the version.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's about. I think that's a fair score for Witcher 1. Iron and Wine. Yeah, that's right. That's a kind of hippie folk band. Tim, had a lot of fun with you today. It's
true.
Monday's host. Who
Me
knows?
and Greg Miller.
You know. You and Greg
Me and
Miller.
Greg Miller.
You and Greg Miller.
The
coming
return
together.
of Greg Miller.
Back from Montreal.
The champ's coming back!
Champ's coming back.
Oh my gosh, I missed it so much.
Champ will return. Tim Geddes.
Yes.
We got to host together a lot.
It was
this week.
good. This is a good week.
A lot of fun.
Solid week.
I enjoy doing this with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice fella. Ladies and gentlemen of the Kind of Funny community, I enjoy seeing you. Every time I get a chance to be here, I just feel warm and happy in my tummy. Now I'm going home to take a nap. Until then, let's shake hands.
Let's do it.